Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bold and Beautiful podcast, where we are discussing all things bold and beautiful. I'm your host, Amanda, and I've decided to name this week's episode Caught Red Handed. This applies to multiple people this week. First, I want to apologize for not putting a podcast out last week. I had a family situation that I had to take care of, and everything's fine now, so I'm back. You know that I hate to leave you guys hanging, so I'm gonna do a quick rundown of the most important things that happened last week before we get started. Okay, Brooke figured out Ridge's secret when she found his secret phone in his briefcase, and she's mad. That's for sure. And she quickly figures out exactly what's happening. Bill lost custody of Will. The judge sided with Katie. No big shock there, thanks to Ridge. And Emma had a jealous meltdown in front of Zoe, which is exactly what Zoe wants her to do. Zoe's trying to convince Xander that Emma is immature and too young for him, and she's playing right into Zoe's plan. But Emma's best friend, Tiffany, shows up, and she talks her off the jealousy ledge, so to speak, and then Emma goes and finds Xander and apologizes for her behavior, and he forgives her, and this whole thing's infuriating anyway, because if she knew the behavior that he was doing, how many times has he kissed Zoe now since she's been back? I lost count. Several. So for him to make her feel so bad about overreacting when she's not really overreacting, she doesn't know that she's not, but she's not technically. If she knew what he was doing, then yeah, it would be a different story, I think. So that's all the main highlights, the most important things that happened last week. I did not see any major news this week, so let's get started. Enough of the chit chat, let's get to the recap. Monday, October the 18th. The show opens in Judge McMullen's chambers. Brooke is there confronting the judge. She explains that she found Ridge's secret phone and that she knows exactly what's going on. But the judge keeps denying it. So the judge tells Brooke, look, just leave now. Just walk out the door and forget all about this, because it never happened. Of course, Brooke tells him that she can't do that. So she says, look, just admit it and tell me what happened. So the judge explains to her what happened. He tells her everything. And he insists that it wasn't a bribe. So Brooke listens, she hears it, and she's stunned. She's totally stunned that Ridge would do this. Like, she's very, very shocked that he would do this. It's something Bill would do. It's not something normally Ridge would do. So the judge swears to Brooke that it doesn't matter, because he would have ruled in Katie's favor anyway without Ridge. And he's desperately trying to convince her this. But I don't think she's not really buying it. And the judge tells her that she can't say anything and this cannot get out, because not only would he be in trouble, but so would Ridge. And Brooke is very upset, and she leaves the office in a huff. Now we head over to Forster Creations in the executive office, and Bill has stopped by to confront Ridge about how he's treating Brooke. Not a smart thing to do. So Bill tells Ridge that he's had enough and that he's not fooling anyone. He knows good and well this is not for Will, that Ridge is doing all this to get back at him. And Bill wants this hatred to stop because it's affecting his son. And of course, Ridge denies this claim. Of course, he's doing this for Will. This has nothing to do with Bill. And of course, Bill doesn't buy it. And neither do I. And I'm sure you don't either. So Bill tells Ridge that he just can't believe that the judge took his custody away. And Ridge, what a genius. Here's what he says. He says, "Oh, Billy, 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 you never had a chance." Really, Ridge? Like, why don't he just go on the radio or something and go on the news and announce what he did? Like, I don't know what he's thinking. He really hates Bill that much, I guess. So, Bill says, "Look, Ridge, can't you just support Brooke and have her back? You're a father, and this is wrong." And then Ridge reminds Bill why he can't do that. He can't do that because he's a father, and he can't do that because of what Bill did to Steffy. And then Ridge leaves the office and tells Bill not to touch anything, and that he needed to leave. So then Bill's phone rings, and it's Katie. And she explains to Bill that Will is asking to see him, and that Will really wants to spend time with him today. So this makes Bill so happy, and he agrees to meet Katie at his office. So Bill leaves, and now we go over to Spencer Publications, and we're in Bill's office, and he's waiting for Katie, and Katie and Will show up. And Bill is so excited to see Will, and Will is super excited to see his dad, and it was very sweet. And Bill thanks him for wanting to spend time with him, and he makes a point to let Will know that he's his first priority. Now we head back to Forrester Creations in the executive office with Brooke and Ridge. Brooke is freaking out, and Ridge comes up to her, he gives her a kiss, and he's talking about just, chit-chat type of things, and she says, "Ridge, that's enough. That is enough. I can't believe you would do this." And so now he's like, "What?" And then she tells him that she knows what he did. She knows exactly what he did. And that she cannot believe that he has a secret phone. Seriously? She's so angry. And she says, "I just can't believe you would do this. This is a crime. Do you not get that?" So then Ridge tries to explain to Brooke why he did all of this. Because the judge owed him, and he was only doing it for Katie and Will. And Ridge says that he's sorry. And he says that he was trying to do the right thing. And this makes Brooke even madder. She isn't buying the story. And she tells Ridge, "You did this for revenge. He took your daughter, so you take his son." And then Ridge begs Brooke to keep a secret. He tells her this cannot get out, and no one can know. And that's how Monday ends. So that brings us into Tuesday, October the 9th. The show opens at Forrester Creations in the executive office. We're picking up right where we left off with Brooke and Ridge. And Brooke is appalled at Ridge's behavior. She can't believe that he is asking her to keep quiet. She is really stunned that he would go this far to hurt Bill. So Brooke tells Ridge to explain everything. She wants the whole story. So Ridge tells her the story, that him and Greg, the judge, went to school together, and how he helped him get into law school, and that they go way back. And then Ridge tells her that even without his influence, the judge would have ruled the same way. And Brooke says, "Wait a minute, if you knew that for sure, then why go to the judge?" And then Ridge explains that Bill is dirty, and he never plays fair. So he went to the judge first before Bill could. And Brooke looks kind of sick. And she says, "So what you're saying is you did exactly what Bill would have done." I will not have it, Ridge. The truth must come out. And then Ridge tells Brooke that she can't tell Spencer because he will go to jail and she will end up hurting Katie, Thorne, and Will. And then he kisses her and he leaves the office. Meanwhile, over at Spencer Publications in Bill's office, Bill is absolutely loving having Will at work with him. And Will seems really happy to be there. And Katie explains to Bill that she doesn't want to keep Will from him. She wants Bill to be more involved. And Bill says that he will be involved in his everyday life from now on. And then he asks Katie to reconsider the custody order. But again, Katie explains the same thing that she said over and over. He has to prove himself, and he has to prove that he can be a good father. Now we head back to Forrester Creations downstairs in the showroom, and Steffy runs into Wyatt. And he was actually looking for Steffy because he wanted to thank her officially for giving Sally a chance, because he knows that she really didn't have to do that. And Steffy tells Wyatt that she has something to ask him. And then she offers him a job. And he's very surprised. And the title would be social media manager for the whole company. And he says, absolutely, because he is ready to start working again. And so Steffy says, can you start today? And he says, sure. And then Ridge walks in to the showroom, and Steffy informs him that she just hired Wyatt to be the social media manager. And Ridge says, okay, good, that's great. But you can tell that he's very preoccupied. And Wyatt says that he's going to take off and go back upstairs to get to work. And Steffy can clearly see that there's something going on with Ridge. And she starts to question him about it. And she wants to know what's going on. So then we go back upstairs in the executive office with Brooke. And she's just shocked, I think. Everything, all of it is just a lot. So Bill walks in and he says, oh, I finally tracked you down. Then he tells her all about his day with Will. And she's very happy for him. Then he starts talking about how he can't believe he lost custody and how he's really struggling and how he don't see how the judge couldn't see how much he loves Will. And Bill says he just wishes he knew what happened. And Brooke says, I can tell you exactly what happened. And that's how Tuesday ends. Brooke's not going to tell him because she's not going to betray Ridge. She loves him. So that brings us into Wednesday, October the 10th. The show opens at Forrester Creations in the executive office with Brooke and Bill. And Bill is still ranting about losing custody. He can't believe the judge's decision. And you can obviously see that Brooke feels really bad and even a little guilty. But I don't think she would betray Ridge. She's in love with him. So Bill asks, why is she on his side? Why would she do all this to help him and go against Ridge? And her answer, she thought the judge would be fair. She thought the whole thing would be fair. But this whole thing was completely unfair. And Bill thanks her for helping him. And he says how much he really appreciates it. Now we head downstairs to the showroom with Steffy and Ridge. And Steffy is still questioning Ridge about what is going on with him and Brooke. She says, Dad, why are y'all fighting? It's over. I don't get why you would still be fighting about this. Why on earth are you still fighting over the ruling? It's not your fault. I don't get it. And then Ridge asks Steffy if she would just drop it already. He doesn't want to talk about it. So he tries to change the subject, but Steffy's really suspicious. And so Ridge says, look, let's make a deal. You stop worrying about me, and I'll stop worrying about you. And then Steffy's phone buzzes, and she says she has a meeting upstairs. So Steffy heads upstairs, and she runs into Pam. And Pam informs her that her meeting has been canceled. Meanwhile, in the side office, Sally is working, and Wyatt sneaks in to surprise her. And he was looking for her so he could tell her about his new job. And, of course, she's so happy for him. And Wyatt's first day, and they are already locking the office door. These two are adorable together. And I like that they're playful with each other. It's often funny. So Wyatt admits that he's very worried about telling his dad about this job. He's nervous because he's not sure how Bill will take it. So back across the hall in the executive office, with Brooke and Bill. Bill thanks Brooke again for helping him, and he admits to her that he was nuts for letting her go. He tells her that she's the one for him, the one who always understands him. I don't like where this is going at all. I don't like where this conversation is headed. So he tells Brooke that she just gets him, and that no one believes that he's changed, but she does. And she does. And he says that he wishes he was still with her. Now, here's what they don't know. After Steffy in the hallway talked to Pam, Pam walked off. So Steffy checks her phone, and then she walks over to the executive office and she opens the door. She doesn't open it all the way, but she opens the door, and when it cracks open, she realizes that Brooke and Bill are in there together, she stops. But what they don't know is that she's watching this whole thing. So Bill's saying how much he wishes he was still with Brooke and blah, blah, blah. And then he grabs her and kisses her. And Steffy is in shock. And that's how Wednesday ends. So that brings us into Thursday, October the 11th. The show opens at Forrester Creations in the executive office with Bill and Brooke. And Bill is trying to talk to Brooke. He's trying to talk her into getting back together with him. I don't know what he's thinking. And he tells her that she's the most important thing to him and how he lost sight of what he had with her. And then he grabs her and kisses her. And as we all know, what they don't know is that Steffi's at the door watching all of this. And Steffy is pissed off. She shuts the door and she walks to Pam's desk and she's livid. So what Steffy misses is Brooke gets very angry that he did this, and she pushes away. She pulls away from him. She pushes him away, and she tells Bill that she's in love with her husband. She's in love with Ridge, and that Bill better not ever kiss her again, because this is the second time and she's over it. So then he apologizes again, and he says it won't happen again. Yeah, right. And then he leaves. So Steffy is still in the hallway, stunned. She looks in the office to see what Brooke is doing. So then we head downstairs into the showroom, and Ridge is by himself, and he's going over everything that happened in his head, and he's starting to freak out a little bit. Katie walks in, and she wants to talk to him. So Katie tells him that she really appreciates everything that he's done and all of his support, and that Thorne really, really appreciates Ridge having his back. And Ridge says that he may not know it, but that he always has his brother's back, even when it seems like he doesn't. So then Katie leaves, and as soon as she's gone, Ridge calls the judge. Greg McMullins is freaking out. The judge tells Ridge that he has to get through to Brooke because she cannot tell anyone, or they're both going to jail. Back upstairs, Steffy walks into the executive office and she tells Brooke that it looks like something's wrong. And Steffy says, Bill's really lucky to have your support, but it must be causing some problems in your marriage to my father. And Steffy tells Brooke that she can see that this custody battle has caused problems between her and Ridge. Then she looks at Brooke and she says, is there something that you want to tell me? And Brooke says, no, there's not anything. And she looks at Steffy like, okay, she's being weird. And then she leaves the office. Now we head over to Spencer Publications in Bill's office. And Bill is distracted again. And it's worrying Justin. So Justin wants to know what the hell is going on. And then Bill admits that he's thinking about Brooke and how he had her and then he just let her go. And he really regrets that he gave up so easily. And Bill tells Justin all about his day with Will and how great it was and how happy he is. And he tells him that he did ask Katie to reconsider the custody order, but she said it's too soon. And Justin, being a good friend, tells Bill to hang in there because he will get custody back in time. Back at Forrester Creations in the side office, Katie is working and Brooke comes in and she shuts the door. And Katie tells Brooke all about Will wanting to see Bill and how they had such a great day together. And Katie notices something is very wrong with Brooke. So Brooke tells Katie that she needs to tell her something, but that she can't tell anyone, not even Thorne. So Brooke explains everything to Katie. Everything. And Katie doesn't want to believe it. She's completely in shock. Across the hall, in the executive office, Steffy is struggling with what she saw. And Ridge walks in the office. And he asks Steffy if she's seen Brooke, because he needs to talk to her. And then he notices something's very wrong, and he asks her what's wrong. What is wrong? And then she tells Ridge that she saw Bill and Brooke kissing. She said that they were in each other's arms, and she saw it with her own eyes, and she wasn't sure what she should do, but that she knows she needs to tell him. But what Steffy doesn't know is that Brooke got really angry and she pushed him off and told him enough. And so Ridge doesn't know that part. And that is how Thursday ends. So that brings us into Friday, October the 12th. The show opens at Forrester Creations in the executive office with Steffy and Ridge. And Ridge is stunned and hurt and shocked and all of these things rolled up. Ridge doesn't want to believe this. And Steffy says, Dad, I know this is upsetting, but they did used to be married. And Ridge says, she's married now. I just can't believe she would do this. And Steffy asks, what are you going to do now, Dad? Then we head over to Spencer Publications in Bill's office. And Bill is still griping to Justin about the fact that he doesn't understand how the judge didn't see how much he loves Will. And Justin tells Bill not to give up, just to be patient. And who knows, Brooke might get through to Katie eventually. Bill just hates having to ask Katie's permission. It's killing him. Then we head over to Forrester Creations in the side office with Katie and Brooke. And Katie is stunned. She cannot believe Ridge would do this. And she says, are you serious? Ridge admitted that? And Brooke says, yes, but you can't tell anyone because Ridge will go to jail. Katie has to sit down. She's so shocked. And Brooke tells Katie that she has to do the right thing and reconsider custody because this whole thing was unfair. And Brooke tells Katie that she has to fix this. And she knows that Ridge loves Will and he wants Katie and Thorne to be happy. But this was about his anger and revenge. That's what made him do this. And Katie comments that Brooke is really defending Bill. She must care about him. And then Katie gets mad and she's like, you know what, Brooke? You want me to keep Ridge's secret and to fix everything. Katie says, you know what? Bill still did what he did. And I have to do what's right for my son. And Brooke says, look, all I'm asking is that you think about it because this whole thing is wrong. Now we head downstairs in the showroom and Wyatt is telling Quinn about his new job at Forrester. And of course, she's so happy, she's literally jumping up and down. And Quinn reminds Wyatt that Bill is not going to like this. And then Quinn gives him a hug and she leaves. Steffy walks into the showroom and she runs right into Wyatt. And he knows that something is very off. Something is very wrong. And he asks Steffy, what is wrong? What is going on? Steffy tells him that it's about Brooke and Bill, but that she can't tell him everything. I was surprised she told him that much, honestly. Back upstairs in the executive office, Brooke walks in, and the first thing Ridge says is, I know you were with Bill. And Brooke explains that it's not what Ridge thinks. She didn't tell him anything. She did not tell him their secret. And then Ridge looks at Brooke and he says, I cannot understand what is happening. He says, Brooke, I could not understand this whole time why you were on his side. But I see now. You and Spencer. How could you do this to us? And that's how Friday ends. Bill claims to love Brooke so much, but he is making her life very difficult. Very difficult. She's told him multiple times now that she's in love with Ridge. And yet he still keeps trying to kiss her and pressure her and manipulate her. And it's typical Bill. So I hope that Ridge hears Brooke out. I hope that he listens to her explanation. And I hope that she at least gets to tell him that she got very angry and basically kicked him out of the office. I just hope that Ridge can understand, because if you all remember, right before, like literally like the day before he was supposed to marry Brooke, he was kissing Quinn. So of all people, he should maybe give her some slack and not judge, considering he kissed her and she didn't kiss him. I would hope that if some guy grabbed me and kissed me, my husband would not be mad at me. Like, hello, I didn't kiss him, right? So I would hope he would understand. So hopefully he will. And I know Steffy was trying to do the right thing and like have her dad's back, but she didn't see the whole thing. If I was her, I would have went to Brooke first and I would have told Brooke, look, this is what I saw. You need to explain yourself right now, because I'm going to tell my dad. So at least she would have the whole story. But of course, it's Steffy. And she didn't do that because it's Steffy. Okay guys, so that brings us to the end of the week. I would love to hear from you guys, your comments, predictions, anything that you are thinking I would like to know. So please get in touch with me at my website at theboldandbeautifulpodcast.com. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'd love to hear from you guys. I hope all of you out there have a great week. I will be back next week. Until then, bye guys.